धूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सागन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्णा वनमाल गोविंद प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
धन्यवाद प्रणाम वेंकटरमण।
Hare Krishna devotees, we welcome all of you for the today's morning program Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Vanamali Govinda Prabhu, and Prabhu will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto 24th chapter verse 30. Over to you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Vanamali Govinda Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are on mute.
Hare Krishna, Venkat Prabhu, am I audible? Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Yes Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can stop Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
We welcome all the devotees for the Sunday morning for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. We have 4.24.30. We'll start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. I'll share the screen. So we are reading from 4th canto, 24th chapter, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text 30. Atha bhagavatayuyam priyakastha bhagavan yatha namad bhagavatanam cha preyan anyosti karhichit. Synonyms. Atha, therefore, bhagavata, devotees, yuyam, all of you, priyaha, very dear to me, stha, you are, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yatha, as, na, neither, mat, than me, bhagavatanam, of the devotees, cha, also, preyan, very dear, anyaha, others, asti, there is, karhichit, at any time. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Chandan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada teacher. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Purport. It is said, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhuhu. Lord Shiva is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva. In Vrindavan, there is Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishwara. The gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva but Katyayani or Durga as well. But their aim was to attain the favor of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna, and he does not request material profit. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that generally people worship demigods for some material profit. Driven by material lust, they worship demigods, but a devotee never does so, for he is never driven by material lust. That is the difference between a devotee's respect for Lord Shiva and an asura's respect for him. The asura worships Lord Shiva, takes some benediction from him, misuses the benediction, and ultimately is killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards him liberation. Because Lord Shiva is the great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva told the Prachitas that because they were devotees of the Lord, he loved them very much. Lord Shiva was not kind and merciful only to the Prachitas. Anyone who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very dear to Lord Shiva. Not only are the devotees dear to Lord Shiva, but he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, devotees of the Supreme Lord also worship Lord Shiva as the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. They do not worship him as separate personality of Godhead. It is stated in the list of Nama Pradas that it is an offense to think that the chanting of the name of Hari and the chanting of Hara or Shiva are the same. The devotees must always know that the Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that Lord Shiva is his devotee. A devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and sometimes even more respect. Indeed, Lord Ram, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worshipped Lord Shiva. If a devotee is worshipped by the Lord, why should a devotee not be worshipped by other devotees on the same level with the Lord? This is the conclusion. From this verse, it appears that Lord Shiva blesses the asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, I have a picture here. I'll just keep it sharing. As it is related to our today's verse, I thought I'll keep this picture as sharing. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम्. Hare Krishna. So we once again welcome all the devotees for the morning Bhagavatam discussion. I would like to take the blessings of all my spiritual teachers from whom I learned this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam so far, and especially would like to seek the blessings of His Grace Narahari Chaitanya Prabhu and all the other senior devotees assembled from our temple today. I feel very fortunate to be amongst all of you, as I try to take this as an opportunity to come before all of you so that all of you can scan my consciousness, how I'm performing, and time to time, if I'm going here and there getting deviated, then I will be again brought back onto track. So in this mood, I'm trying to come before you and taking this opportunity to share something from Srimad Bhagavatam. So as the topic is going on about Lord Shiva's interaction with Prachitas, we see that how Lord Shiva is appreciating the Prachitas as to be the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how dear they are to him. So in our today's discussion, we'll try to focus on three aspects. One is Lord Shiva's position. Sometimes the Shambhu Tattva or the Sadashiva Tattva is really not clear. It is a little less understood even amongst devotee communities. And second part, we'll try to focus on Lord Shiva's glories. Some pastimes, some of them are very well known also. And lastly, we'll try to discuss that in the last line of Srila Prabhupada's purport, he tells that if the devotees are worshipped by Lord himself, as Lord Shiva is being worshipped by Ram, and even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is begging for bhakti in his South India Yatra to Shiva temple. So if that is the case, then how much other devotees, practicing devotees should respect the other devotees. So on that aspect, we'll try to focus. So these are the three aspects we will discuss today. The first one being the Lord Shiva's position. So I got to know from His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's an article about what exactly is the terminologies Sada Shiva or Shiva or Rudra mean. So in his wonderful article in his website and in his one of the audio lecture also, I could learn that actually Sada Shiva is the transcendental personality who is almost staying in the Kailash Dham, which is 1/4 inside the spiritual world and 3/4 outside. So it is almost there in the spiritual world. And he is the personality who is eternal, who is not like a position which changes, unlike Brahma, Indra, and other demigods. He is eternal. He cannot be replaced by any Jiva Tattva. And he is at the same time different from the Vishnu Tattva. So he is neither Vishnu Tattva nor a Jiva Tattva, and that is Sadashiva. He permanently, eternally resides in Kailash Dham with Mother Parvati and the other associates over there, his disciples who simultaneously glorify Lord Vishnu over there. And when this Lord Shiva takes birth from Brahma, when the Char Kumaras did not agree to procreate and made Lord Brahma very angry, and because of his anger, the Shiva who comes out, he is considered to be not an eternal entity, like how Lord Brahma comes in this particular universe, and it is a post which keeps changing. And if there is no particular Jiva, then he can be taken over by Lord himself. Similarly, this is the Shiva who is in charge of this particular universe, and he further procreates and generates the 11 Rudras which come out, and they take up different responsibilities in the universe. So in that way, we can understand that how the description of Lord Shiva comes also in the Brahma Samhita, the analogy of curd and the milk which is given. So the milk which is compared to Vishnu and the curd which is compared to Lord Shiva. So a milk touched by an acid gets converted into curd. So this is how we can understand that Lord Shiva, that acid is compared to the material modes. When there is contact with that material modes, the milk gets converted into acid. Lord Vishnu expands himself into Lord Shiva. So particularly in essence, the glance, when Mahavishnu glances on the Pradhana, so he he incorporates all the jivas through that glance into the Pradhan. So that glance itself is compared to the Shiva Tattva. And because it is in touch, at least if not completely engrossed by the material modes, it is in the touch. And that is why Lord Shiva is being the in charge of mode of ignorance. So that is the position of Lord Shiva, and then the Rudras which come out. So this fairly gives us a rough idea, at least, that who is Sadashiva, the eternal personality in Kailash Dham, Lord Shiva who manifests through Brahma and then comes and takes charge of a particular universe, and he is not a permanent position like Sadashiva, and then the Rudras which take away the different activities and responsibilities in the universe. Primarily, Lord Shiva takes the charge of mode of ignorance, because this particular material mode is dominant in this material world. So this second offense, now we have to understand that we may tend to get confused that we are respecting Lord Shiva as a great devotee, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, and we need to respect him as good as Lord. Then how to understand the second offense, that to not consider the names of Lord Shiva and Brahma to be equal to or independent that of the Lord. So is it only to the name or to the personality? How do we understand? Yes, to make it very simple, we can understand that the concept that Lord Vishnu is the supreme and Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and even his names, there is no doubt about it, there is no match. No other demigods, including Lord Shiva's name, can be considered to be as powerful, as respectable by the devotees to that of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So that is absolute truth. There is no confusion about it. However, in this particular section of Bhagavatam, this particular aspect, we glorify Lord Shiva. It is like a time, place, and circumstances. For example, Srila Prabhupada sometimes told, yes, book distribution is my most dearmost activity. And sometimes he also glorified a lady who was bringing water from Yamuna river to Radha Damodar temple. And he told that she will go back home, back to Godhead because of her regular service. So Prabhupada also told that this is the best service. And at sometimes he told that is the best service according to the time, place, circumstance. So we cannot tell that which is the best service in that sense. In spiritual, there are many best. In the same way, in this particular time and circumstances, we try to glorify Lord Shiva, and we don't try to equate in the absolute level with Lord Vishnu or Krishna, but we try to understand that momentarily this pastime is for the zoom light. The focus is on Lord Shiva's glories and it's his dealings and his respect towards the devotees of Lord Krishna. So that is why he's glorifying Prachitas, that you are all very dear to me, and I am also very dear to the devotees of Krishna, because they understand me very dear, because I am also worshipping Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. So in that sense, we can try to understand that in absolute form, yes, Lord Vishnu and his names are supreme, there is no match. But when a particular time and circumstance is there, we glorify Lord Shiva, almost on the level of Lord Vishnu. So that is my understanding, what we get from the Acharyas also. And coming to the glories of Lord Shiva, how we can understand further is how Srila Prabhupada actually once handled a situation. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj lecture I was hearing on this very verse, where he was telling that when he went to Chennai, he met a Shaivite. I think his name is Ramakrishna, where he had an interaction with him, very scholarly person. And the moment the argument came about who is the supreme, so there was a heated argument between him and His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. And finally, a couple of times it happened. And Giriraj Maharaj finally told that, why don't you talk to our spiritual master who is coming to Chennai? And Srila Prabhupada was scheduled. And the moment he took him to Srila Prabhupada, and he told that who is supreme, Prabhupada, Shiva or Krishna? So Prabhupada initially was silent. He did not immediately react. But then Maharaj tells, he very, very intelligently gave him the understanding that what is the difference between bhakti and puja? In bhakti, there is no aspiration, there is no desire, ulterior motive. But in a puja, there is some motive that if I do this particular thing, I want this result. So bhakti is done for Krishna and puja is done for Lord Shiva. Generally, people tend to ask some material benediction to Lord Shiva, as he is also very easily satisfied. But then he argued that cannot we do bhakti to Shiva? Then Prabhupada told that yes, you can do though. So you can do bhakti to Shiva also. But if you do so, then he will give you the best result. And what is the best result? Which he himself practices. That is the meditation and worship of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So in this way, to a far extent, he could convince and he could very intelligently deal. So in our preaching also, we sometimes come across some boys or some people who are very staunch follower of Shiva. So we need to sensitively deal with them. And this is one thing which I could very inspiringly hear about Srila Prabhupada dealing. And sometimes we may come across some Shiva temples or some upcoming devotees who may, or during some yatra, where we may come across a Shiva temple and some prasad is being offered to us as a Krishna devotee. So should we accept it or not? This question was asked to His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrut Maharaj, to which Maharaj told that it all depends on in what mood the prasad, the bhoga, was offered to Shiva. If it was offered to Shiva with an intention to get some material desires, then probably we should avoid that prasad. But if it was offered by a nice devotee with a nice intention, with a pure intention to get bhakti, then it is probably okay. So this one understanding I got, and how to deal with when we get a bhoga which was offered to Shiva. And further we understand that how Lord Shiva has been drinking poison. the halahal which came out after Samudra Manthana, which was about to drown the entire universe. And he completely concentrated it after asking the permission of Mother Parvati. He can we imagine how much concentrated will be that when he downsized the amount of poison to a quantity which he can swallow and keep it in his throat. So His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj in his lecture says that we can learn the mood of compassion. Actually, this is what makes Lord Shiva very great. His mood of helping others and sacrificing for others is what makes him great. And we as practicing devotees also, we can learn from Lord Shiva to get this quality of compassion, to be selfless in our services. So Srila Prabhupada also traveled to USA without having any concern that what will happen, just for giving Krishna to others. So in the similar lines to Lord Shiva, also we see that actually many senior devotees, like one of them I see is our His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. He is probably 52 plus, but the amount of services from right in the morning 3:30 he has a class for some Boston youths, and throughout the day his schedule is so packed. Recently also when he came to ICC, it was observed that we are not able to do, at least I am not able to do the same intensity even if I'm 36 now. So probably he has done that very nice practice, not engaged in the sense gratificatory activities, but I need to improve on that. So if we do this, then probably we will be able to do much more compassion to others. Otherwise, it will not be possible. So even if we want to do compassion, we cannot just imitate. We need to actually do our homework, follow the proper regulation, and then we will be able to follow and match to some extent, to follow in the footsteps of what these great devotees or Lord Shiva is exhibiting over here. Also, Lord Shiva sometimes we see that his dresses are very niggardly. He wears very short and deer skin and tiger skin. So it is said that because it is not that he is used to it or is captivated by the mode of ignorance, but it is said that like things attract like people, and his service is not of a white collar service. Generally, when a white collar service of preaching, giving a class is given, then we feel very nice, encouraged. But when or we do it enthusiastically, at least in my understanding, I see that it happens with me. However, when we are given some small service which is not so in limelight, then we may not do it enthusiastically. But Lord Shiva doesn't do like that. He does his service paka. He dresses in such a way, and he makes the ghost goblins feel that in the same way, and that is how he attracts and gives compassion to them. He may be roaming in the smashans with the ghosts and the goblins who are also in that same mood. So Maharaj was telling that like things attract the like people. Like even in West, sometimes we cannot just go in dhuti kurta. We have to wear pant shirt and appeal to that particular audience. Or even in college, we don't go in dhuti kurta, but we go in pant shirt to appeal that kind of people. And further, in the Bhrigu Muni test, that who is supreme, Lord Shiva actually purposely tries to behave in such a way, not that he is actually angry on Bhrigu for being tested, but or being insulted, but he wanted to glorify Lord Vishnu. And not only there, even in Mohini Murti pastime, it was not that he was just distracted. Yes, obviously, the beauty of Mohini Murti was amazing, but he wanted to show to all his disciples and all the living entities that, see, even me, whom people consider as a Dhir Purusha, can get distracted by the amazing beauty of the Lord. And that is what we can learn from both these pastimes of Bhrigu Muni and Mohini Murti, that Lord Shiva is not egoistic. He is working out very innocently and very devotionally to glorify Lord Vishnu whenever there is an opportunity. So any standard also, we see that Lord Brahma and Shiva also came to this particular pastime of the Vishnu avatars or Narsimha Dev, etc. They are also respecting. So how great is the position of Lord Shiva, that his activities are to be given as an example, as a standard to be said. Many times it comes in Srimad Bhagavatam also, that Lord Shiva and Brahma are respecting, so everybody should do it. So that is the position of Lord Shiva, and he is preaching to anybody and everybody, especially the fallen souls. But we see in our youth preaching, we do a particular IQSQ test where we filter out all the people who are actually inclined to spirituality. We don't much cater to those who are not much inclined. Also, when we go for book distribution in traffic signals, we actually see a posh car. That, oh, if the car is posh, then only we'll approach, because we'll get donation. But Shiva is not like that. He goes to anybody and everybody, and doesn't actually does any partiality. So his mode of preaching is very amazing, very selfless, absolutely no fruitive tendency. And when he dances, the dance is so amazing that the friction which is caused between him and the floor actually causes the spark which entirely lights the fire in the universe at the time of Pralaya. And his dearness, his control over his senses is so amazing. It's compared that even when so many maid servants are there in Kailash Dham, who are assisting Parvati, Mother Parvati, but he does not get agitated by any of them. But he is focused completely on the meditation, and he tells Srimad Bhagavatam also, Mother Parvati, that how I am focusing and meditating on Lord Ram, Ram Rameti Rame Rama Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanani. So Shiva is different from many demigods. His position is above all the demigods because he is changeless. As I discussed initially, that Sadashiva position is not to be taken over by any jiva, and also he is all cognizant. He knows. One devotee, one student was asking that when actually Shiva sometimes gives blessings to Vrikasura kind of demons, doesn't he know that they will misuse it? Is Shiva ignorant of that? No, actually Shiva is very much dependent and fully knowledgeable. He knows that if in case some mistake also happens on my side, Lord Vishnu is there to take care. And with Vrikasura, although he tries to use the same benediction on Lord Shiva, but he runs from there and Lord Vishnu saves him. And he is ever fresh. He's Satchidananda, and he has all the mystic siddhis amongst him. That is how he makes himself completely different from the demigods. And he bears Mother Ganges on his head, thereby gives shelter to so many of the living conditioned souls in this material world. Even Narsim Mehta also approaches Lord Shiva with a pure intention, and thereby he gets the bhakti, Narsim Mehta of Gujarat. So by this we can understand that how this very nature of Lord Shiva is so unique, and it is being worshipable even by the Lord himself, Lord Ram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is trying to worship Lord Shiva on one of the occasions. But we should understand that this is not a we should not derive an understanding, oh, so that means Lord Shiva's position is higher. No, Lord Ram or the Lord Vishnu, they are trying to actually glorify their own devotee, and that is the mood in which they are trying to worship Lord Shiva occasionally. So we should not understand that, okay, the position is greater of Lord Shiva. In fact, the compassion and the merciful nature of the Lord is so much that he wants to glorify his devotees. So from here we trying to extract one lesson, as in the line of Srila Prabhupada in his last line in the purport, that how much a devotee should then respect other devotees if Lord himself is so much eager to respect his devotees. So we should this particular fact helps me to avoid fault finding in devotees. Many times when we develop familiarity with our existing devotees, we see that the only the rough part of the devotees are slowly highlighted. One devotee was sharing that fault finding is like keeping a 1 rupee coin in front of our eye and not see the full picture of the devotee. We just try to focus on that particular fault only. So if we see that how this devotee is so rare, he has left everything of the outside world and he's trying to get into pure devotional service. Maybe he is suffering from some anarthas, But if we try to oversee that and just focus this good part of the devotee, some small fault, then it will be so nice. And it will be so very helpful, because I myself personally had a struggle when we end up seeing some fault in a subordinate. Some time and again that fault only comes. But when I saw some senior devotees that they don't focus on the fault, but they focus more on the good aspect of the devotee. So I have learned this from many great souls like His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. I would like to narrate a couple of instances in this regard to just highlight that how we should respect the devotees. And once, as I have heard that His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was giving a class for youths. So, I'm sorry, His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, for the South Indian youth gathering. So one devotee, one practicing devotee asked that, "Oh, Maharaj, I am feeling sleepy in my chanting." So then I was just seeing how will Maharaj answer this question. So he told immediately, "Oh, very good. You are sleeping in chanting. That means you have at least recognized it. So now maybe you were tired and you need some rest, or you need to take a rest little early." So that is the way he approached, and then he told to how to improve on that. I was just imagining if I was there in that position, I would have probably told, "Oh, your condition is pathetic. You are sleeping even while walking in chanting." Yeah, that devotee was telling that even when I walk, I feel sleepy. I feel sleepy. So that was the answer given by Maharaj. Another incident when there was some initiation was about to happen, and at that time, one devotee was telling that, "Maharaj, this particular devotee wants the initiation and he's been recommended, but there is only one issue, that he is still eating chocolates." So when Maharaj heard that, he was silent and was thinking, and that really time of initiation came, and he was given beads also. And then Maharaj also gave him one packet of 5-star chocolates, and he was shocked. "Maharaj, but this is not supposed to be taken. Chocolates are prohibited." But then Maharaj said, "No, you like it, you take it. I heard that you like chocolates." And the devotee was so much taken aback that, there is somebody to know about me, to knows what I like. And obviously the devotee knew that this is not good, and Maharaj is inspiring me, encouraging me, and he's taking care, but I should not take it. And that very day he gave up the chocolates and was completely free from that. So I was just recollecting and trying to contemplate that I would have not been able to react in such a way, the way Maharaj reacted. I would have only said, "Oh, probably after so many classes, you still don't know that you have to give up these chocolates. How much more time will you take? After that only we will see how to further progress." So, but Maharaj's reaction was completely different. So I personally see that these great souls have done PhD in not finding faults, and that is what makes them see very encouragingly and inspire other devotees for bhakti, for positively. On another occasion, when I was in Kartik Yatra, I had seen once there was an assembly of 7,000 devotees, and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was giving a class, and suddenly the sound system gave off, and there was pin drop silence as to what will happen, when will the sound come again. And after almost 7 minutes, the sound came, and then Maharaj asked, "Shall I give you a purport?" Then he gave a purport as to, this sound system has been developed since last 20 years, and on the olden days in 1990s, it was just a rudimentary, not a well developed sound system, but today it is fully mechanized, and very, very complex machineries are there, and they have done their best to give the best service. And probably we have not recognized their contribution, and probably we are not grateful. So when devotees heard that, all 7,000 devotees started clapping. For what? For the sound system, that their hard work. So immediately everybody was a little bit curious, what is happening? Sound system people are not active. But Maharaj, by telling this, he completely turned the gear on the other side. Everybody was grateful to the sound system now. And then he told, "Okay, and maybe the sound system people also should not get puffed up by their progress." And to teach them a lesson, Krishna gave such a situation where the sound system was interrupted. And then finally he told for himself also that maybe I also should not become puffed up giving lecture in Vrindavan, trying to glorify Lord, and I should not get more egoistic. So Krishna temporarily stopped me. So he made in such a way that people will not see fault on the sound system and give complaint, because it's a serious situation. 7,000 devotees are sitting hearing a lecture, and for 7 minutes there was no sound. So by this we learn that actually great souls are those who are not able to see faults in others, but they are, even though they are there. And that is how that Mother Sati tells in the 4th canto that mahattara mahattama and ati mahattama. Even though these are gradations of devotees who actually, even though they see fault, but they don't see as a fault, but they're trying to improve. So from there it goes to a ati mahattama, where he absolutely doesn't see fault even though it is there, but he only extracts a good thing, like a thief. Ati mahattama will not see a thief a thief. If a thief comes and robs him also of some wallet or the watch, he will see that, oh, such a good thief, he did not kill me. So this is the highest level. Probably we cannot imitate that, but this is how the great souls are trying to see. And in a recent occasion also, I had to happen to see His Grace Narhari Chaitanya Prabhu, that how he was dealing with a situation. I will not take any names, but apparently there was some issue, and there were two devotees involved, and one of the devotee was being told that actually the fault was of B devotee, and the A devotee was in picture. B devotee was not in picture also. The A devotee was there, and there are other devotees who were also there around. So Narahari Chaitanya Prabhu was telling that the B devotee, although he has done some fault, but now he has rectified the fault to quite an extent, and he is trying to improve on that. And I was happened to be there, and I was there in the picture, and I was just trying to observe. Happened to see. And then the A devotee was not agreeing fully about the B devotee, that yeah, he has done some improvement, but so much still is pending, so much still fault is still there. And then Prabhuji was trying to explain, your way of seeing and my way of seeing are completely different. I see that the B devotee may have done some fault, but he has done so much good also for the temple, for the things, and I don't see that fault as a big thing. I am trying to see this bigger picture. He has been such a nice devotee, practicing so nicely. So this incidents, and then he was further telling to devotee A that if you also see in this way, probably I would have been so nicely, and I would have given you nice Mahaprasad. And that particular interaction was so enlivening for me, because I learned a lesson that see how the way the senior devotees are seeing, and that is how Prabhuji is able to manage. And even though in management there are so much friction which may come amongst devotees, but if we don't see the fault side, and if we emphasize on the good aspect, then we cannot involve ourselves in offenses, and we can lead nice services to Srila Prabhupada. So I'm very grateful that I can learn so many such things from devotees like Narahari Prabhu and many others, and not focusing on that particular aspect. One devotee was sharing in our brahmachari class that there may be some tendencies of friction which may come amongst our devotee circle, and especially even in brahmachari or even in grihastha ashram, we tend to go back to our relatives who may not be devotees, and we feel that, oh, these people are much more better. If I go in temple, I interact with this services, and this devotee will tell like that. So slowly a picture may become that we start becoming averse to the devotees, and we become still more nearby. Okay, the audio is low is what Mataji is sharing. Venkat Prabhu, is the audio low for you also?
No, Prabhu, the audio is fine.
Okay, maybe there may be some internet issue with that. So let me know in the chat if there is any concern. My internet is good over here as far now. So I was discussing that about the relatives, that our tendency may go that we may become more closer to the relatives who are non-devotees than the practicing devotees. Because there is some friction in our services with them. So slowly sometimes devotees maintain aversion or distance also. अरे वहां जाऊंगा तो offense हो जाएगा, गड़बड़ हो जाएगा, दूर ही रहना अच्छा है. But the devotee was emphasizing that this should not come in devotee circle, because we are God sisters and God brothers. These are the real God brothers, and these are the real God sisters. If the relatives are not devotees, and they may be our close relatives, but they are not devotees. So we should have this picture always, that our real God brothers and sisters are our devotee circle. whom we are associating, even though there may be apparently some friction which may be happening, but on a larger scale, we have to see that these devotees are the ones who are our real well-wishers. Once His Grace Govinda Prabhu had asked a question to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, where he was telling, sometimes Maharaj, I see that the outer devotees, outside devotees are well behaved. They are so polite and so genuine, very decent in their interactions, that I feel that they are better than the devotees also. So then how to see? Then Maharaj first replied, he laughed and said, what to speak of you, even sometimes I feel like that. But then he gave a very profound answer that actually this good thing which we see in outside people, polished behavior, etc., it is just an outer covering. But the inner surrender to Krishna, which is not there, which is there in the devotees. The devotees might be externally appearing rough or not so well behaved, or we may not feel so much connected, but internally they have submitted to Krishna, and that is what is the real beauty and real attraction. So when we keep that as the focus, then we will see that we will not have so much problem in the dealings. Otherwise, there is an offense of commission and offense of omission. The offense of commission is we may end up offending the devotee, insulting, blaspheming, backbiting, etc., which will happen when we more interact with the devotees. But the offense of omission is also there, where we try to go away from the devotees. If we go away thinking that, oh, there is no much there in devotees association, and we try to keep distance, then there will be offense of omission, as it happened with Indra to his spiritual master Brihaspati. He neglected his presence, and he was not attentive, did not give respect, and he was getting carried away by the respect he was achieving from his followers. So he was severely punished by that. So to avoid that, we should be having this consciousness that devotees are, in essence, they are very beautiful and attractive. We should not get carried away by their some external behavior which may be appearing to be rough. And like how Prabhupada mentions in this purport, that how much the devotees should respect and worship other devotees. If Lord himself is doing that, then that can give us inspiration to give the same love and respect to the other devotees. So in a nutshell, I would like to just summarize what we discussed today, and then if we can take some comments and questions at the end. So we started with the thing of Lord Shiva's position, that Lord Shiva's position as Sadashiva, Shiva, and as Rudra. So Sadashiva's position is eternal in Kailash Dham, and Shiva's position is temporary, particular to that universe who is coming out of Brahma. And then the expansions of Rudra. Then we give the analogy of milk converting into curd by the touch of the acid. And then we discuss some glories of Lord Shiva, especially how to handle Lord Shiva Shivites, how Prabhupada handled them by giving the difference of bhakti and puja. And ultimately, if we worship, we respect and request Lord Shiva to give us the topmost thing without any ulterior motives, material desires, then even he can give us bhakti. That is the power of Lord Shiva. And that is why he is the greatest Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu in this material world. And in the spiritual world, it is Srimati Radharani and the gopis. And then we saw the quality of compassion of Lord Shiva, that how he is selfless in his attempts. He is drinking poison, and he is holding Ganges for the betterment of the living conditioned souls. So Srila Prabhupada following in that same footsteps, we can also try our best to imbibe that quality of compassion and help others to get closer to Krishna. And then we discussed about the Bhrugumuni test and the Mohini Murti test, that even though Lord Shiva is behaving sometimes like this, which may be questionable, that how he is he getting attracted to Mohini Murti, or he is getting angry by Bhrugumuni's behavior? No, actually he does it purposely to glorify Lord Vishnu, because at heart he is devotee and he wants his master to be glorified. And even Vrikasura, he is not that he is ignorant, but he knows, he has full faith that even if something goes wrong, my Lord Vishnu will take care of it. So we also discussed that how he is a Dhir Purusha, even though there are many sense objects or many attractions which may be there, he doesn't get attracted. Like how Ramanand Rai, even though he was decorating some ladies for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath dance, similar way, even though there are so many maid servants of Parvati in Kailash Dham, but Lord Shiva is focusing, and his attention on the Lord is completely fixed, as it was during Daksha's entry. In essence, he offered obeisances to Daksha, but physically he did not. But Lord Daksha was not very exalted to understand that, and he ended up offending him. And then we took a little discussion on how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ram, they respected, worshipped Lord Shiva, asked for bhakti, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in South Indian Yatra. And if they are worshipping and respecting so much his devotee, then as devotees, we should also respect our other devotees. We may not be able to worship in the initial stage, okay, but at least the respect should be there. And then we elaborately discussed how the great souls, we discussed the pastimes, the examples of His Holiness Jayapratak Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and His Grace Narhari Chaitanya Prabhu. And then we also discussed how we should see God sisters and God brothers as real well-wishers, even though there may be apparent some frictions, and not take it too much seriously, so that we go away from them and try to not take their association, which may end up committing offense of commission. In order to not commit any offense, we may commit another offense. So we should never get distracted, and we should see the larger picture, that the devotee is essentially surrendered to Krishna, and that is his best quality. There may be some rough edges which may be avoided as far as possible, and with this attitude we can always respect any and every devotee. So thank you very much for your patient hearing and tolerating my some words. I'm always grateful, and we can now take some discussions or comments from anybody. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Thanks a lot, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class, and you have nicely, enlightened us with the position of the Lord Shiva and his glories, and how we should, as a devotees of Lord Krishna, how we should worship Lord Shiva. It was really wonderful. There are questions in the chat window, Prabhuji. Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu, can you see, or should I repeat?
I can see. Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu, actually, he's a very worshipable senior of mine. I derive so much inspiration from him. He always glorifies and encourages. I would just try to take this question as a test for me and see how much I can perform. Prabhuji is sharing that, can you elaborate why Lord Ram worshipped Lord Shiva? People mistake that Lord Shiva as supreme. Mahaprabhu also went to various Shiva temple and glorified Shiva, especially Odisha. How to understand this? So that's the understanding what I have heard from seniors, that Lord wants to glorify his devotees. And this is a rare occasion which is happening. It is not that any and all the pastimes Lord Ram is worshipping Shiva. In fact, we see Lord Shiva worshipping Krishna in the most of the occasions. He's going to take darshan of Krishna, and we see in the mother Yashoda is getting bewildered, and then he's trying to take darshan of Krishna in the rasa dance. Then he's taking the form of a Gopeshwar Mahadev. So most of the occasions, Mohini Murti occasions, Bhrigu Muni test. So we, by these pastimes, we understand that actually Lord Shiva is subordinate, or even though the benedictions he gives to Vrikasura have to be ultimately reconciled by Lord Shiva. So these pastimes sufficiently tell us that the position of Lord Vishnu is great. And occasionally Lord Ram and even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in an urge to glorify his devotees, because the Lord is Bhakta Vatsala, and he always wants to see that his devotees get the glories. And in that spirit, he is worshipping Lord Shiva. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually, if we see the actual essence of how he is going to the Shiva temple, he's doing Hare Krishna Kirtan. He's not doing any other Kirtan, and the desire is to ask bhakti from him. It is not any other material benediction. So when we understand this incidents in proper spirit, then we can immediately get the understanding that what is the happening over here. And then it may help us not to mistaken, and the others will also get an idea. And then Prabhuji is asking, is Shambhu and Sadashiva same? living in border of spiritual world. Yes, in my understanding, both are Shambhu Tattva and Sadashiv Tattva. They are the same, which are eternal in the border of spiritual world. So, is that okay, Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu? I hope I have.
Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu, now we can unmute. We'll be able to unmute.
Okay, he's typed yes in the chat box.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Guruji. And Prema Priya Radhika Mataji and Shweta Mataji are also telling that thanks. Thank you, Mataji, for encouraging.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. And today I learned about the three forms, Sadashiva and Shiva and Rudra. And very wonderfully, I think it gets imprinted. And the one thing I just want to add is they always call Shiva as Asutosha. He can easily be pleased. That's why people approach Shiva, they say.
Very,
as
very
you have said, he is impartial and anybody can be pleased by Shiva, he said, Prabhu. Very nice, wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So that's what he doesn't do any partiality. He is very equal to everybody. In our preaching, I am very much partial sometimes in my book distribution or in our youth preaching. But the glory of Lord Shiva is that he is never partial. He has no fruitive mentality. It's not a white collar job to preach hobgoblins and ghosts, but he goes ahead and does that. Even he goes to Brahma Jyoti, because there are somebody who are stuck there, and that is the only hope for those who are in Brahma Jyoti, that when Lord Shiva goes for Kirtan there, then they can come out and get into bhakti. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for the wonderful class today. I think a lot of learnings, especially in terms of the PhD of not finding fault and how we deal with our devotees. I think Lord Shiva led by example of how a devotee should be. So we should be in the same mode of being very kind to everybody and be more compassionate and not be fault finding. So yeah, I really like that point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravilochan Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thanks for the nice clarifications, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in many places of Bhagavatam, it is given that we cannot approach the Lord directly. We should pray to the devotees and approach him. So should we mainly do puja to Shiva and ask him to give Krishna Bhakti, or what, Prabhuji? I'm confused.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji, for a very nice question. Yes, as you told in the first part of your thing, that we should approach Krishna through his devotees only. That is very true. And that is why in our teachings, Prabhupada has made it very clear that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Kuriya Aikya Arana Kori Homune Asha. Yasya Prasadad Bhagavad Prasado Yasya Aprasadad Nagati Kutopi. So it is a fact that unless we please a devotee, we worship a devotee, those who are pure devotees, we have no direct access to Krishna. There is no doubt about it. Now, whether that should be Shiva only or it can be any pure devotee, that has to be discussed. And that can be as preferably, because we are in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we don't have to especially go to Shiva only. Yes, if somebody happens to be the position of a devotee is, if he goes to some dham, as we see that Shiva is a protector of the dham, and unless we don't get his mercy, we cannot enter. Actually, Shiva is one of the, I forgot to tell, that is one of his services, is he is sitting there at the border to filter those who are not qualified to enter the spiritual world. As Lord Shiva was stopped from the Rasa dance, and he was made to stand there that no unqualified people should enter. So that is one of the service, and we need his blessings, and surely. But that does not mean to say that a Krishna devotee who is already initiated or who is chanting Hare Krishna already is doing that what Lord Shiva wants him to do. So in essence, we don't have to especially go absolutely through Lord Shiva only. So that is not the understanding. But in case the devotee happens to be a Shiva temple or a Shaivite or a concept of discussion, we fully respect Lord Shiva, understanding him to be the best devotee, eager to have his blessings. But at the same time, if he is doing his bhakti and service to his guru, then that is also completely fine. He doesn't have to specially worship Lord Shiva. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Premadata here. I just want to contribute one point on the question of Sadashiva Shambho. What is the difference?
Yes.
So
Prabhu,
you were
please.
right. You were spot on, Prabhu. Actually, we never call Sadashiva only simple Sadashiva. We call him as Sadashiva Shambho.
Okay.
We call him as a full name as Sadashiva Shambho. Shambho word actually, when I was preparing for this one class where I was supposed to give about halahala. So during that preparation of the class, I studied a little bit on. So as you mentioned about Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji mentioning, so he has actually very, I've gone through that article. It's very elaborative and very, I mean, this is an example, like when I was giving a class, somebody asked me, can Jiva Tattva take the place of Shiva? Because that lady heard, that devotee Mataji heard somewhere in the class. So for that clarification, I went and I understood that that's wrong, that a Jiva Tattva cannot take the place of Shiva. And Sadashiva is actually Sadashiva Shambho. Shambho actually comes from the word known as cosmic pillar. Shambho comes from the word Skambha. Skambha means support, ashray. So he's actually a very big ashray and a support for devotees who are aspiring to go towards Goluka. And because of his merciful nature, as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, he's remember you said some portion is in spiritual world, some portion is in material world. So he acts like a bridge. He acts like a pillar, a bridge between the material world and the spiritual world, and that is why he is known as Sadashiva Skamba, means Shambho. So he's eternally acting like a bridge between the fallen entities and in the form of Maheshwara, in the form of he putting vibhut and all, he goes one step deeper into the material world to deliver the people, ignorant people. So you will see in Kali Yuga, most of the people first understand Shiva. In fact, if you go to the Shiva Purana, you will read so much about Shiva, so much that the devotees get an impression, or the people who are seeking the truth via Shiva, he is the supreme. And that is also not wrong. That is also not wrong, because he's actually the Guhyam power of Krishna only. Krishna only comes in the form of bridges and bridges and bridges to help people cascade and move towards him slowly. So from ignorant stage to, to the light. So just wanted to contribute on this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Premdatta Prabhu. Actually, even His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj also told that sometimes he is being worshipped by Lord Ram and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he is being acting as a personality of Godhead, and sometimes most of the times we see his devotee. So it's Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva.
Exactly. He is worshipping himself. When Lord Rama, this is a very big question which everybody asks, and for preachers it's very simple to answer. Krishna is worshipping himself.
Yeah.
Krishna is worshipping. In fact, in one of the class, if you hear from our Radha Gopinath Prabhu, when I joined ISKCON 21 years back, he gave a class that in Mohini Avatara, Krishna himself disrobes himself in the form of Shiva by showing that, look, if you are not stick to the things, you will get attracted. So then one question asked to Radha Gopinath Prabhu during the class, I'm talking about 2003, 2002. Then he said, look, it's a very difficult matter to understand. It is Krishna who is himself putting in this awkward situation just to let you know how powerful is my Maya. But at the same time, like as you said, Achintya Bheda Bheda, Krishna himself comes in the form of Mahaprabhu and shows him that he is the devotee. But how can Krishna, God, can be a devotee of himself? But to teach others, to bring us to that level of platform where we, give up material engagement and go. And one more thing, Shiva word is actually means very sweet. In one of the scriptural meanings of Shiva is very, very sweet. He is very sweet. In fact, Prabhupada mentions in one of the purport of Bhagavatam in Canto 4, he says that one who goes via Shiva to Krishna is that he wants to see the sweetest aspect of Krishna through Shiva. So these all, God compliments himself in different ways to himself. Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry,
No problem. Yeah, it was very nice, and at least not to get confused and simple terms, we should at least understand that absolutely in absolute form, Lord Vishnu is the supreme, Krishna is supreme, and Shiva and or Lord Shiva's names or Lord Brahma's names are not equivalent or independent as the second offense tell. But when time and circumstances, the Lord Himself is glorifying Lord Shiva as a devotee. So that is why they tell that this is for us in new people, it is a little difficult subject matter. But when we take all the teachings of Prabhupada, it becomes quite simple and easy to understand. Thank you for that addition, Prem Datta Prabhu.
So, you see, one last point I want to say. Some people
Yes.
also get confused about Ramacharitra Manasa. Okay, now Ramacharitra means if you see Rama is 50% of Vishnu. It's a charitra, it's a character Krishna is playing, that how you should come in the form of, doing even your responsibility and yet maintaining all the qualities of a devotee, of a Lord, how he's maintaining as a person, not as a devotee, but as a person. So even in Lord Shiva's case, some people, if you go very deep, it is Krishna's power only. It's Krishna only who is coming, because who can play the role of a Lord Shiva? So it's a patra. It's a way, as he's himself saying, Skambha, he's a pillar. So he's trying to bring his own children who have gone away from him in different way. And you are right, in spirit, Shiva is the Shiva Tattva is coming from Vishnu Tattva only. He is the spiritual source of the Vishnu Tattva is the spiritual source of Shiva Tattva. But in technical language, so that because in Kali Yuga people are in ignorance mode, we should very much, as you rightly clarified, even when I added this point, that yes, we should, even Lord Shiva, if you go and say you are supreme, you will say no, Shiva, Vishnu is supreme. Even he will deny that, because the end result is Krishna. Vasudevam Sarvamiti. The whole Sonam Bonam is Krishna only in the end. So clarification from a preaching point of view also is very right, and thank you for that.
Yeah, Prabhupada, that a devotee must always know that Lord Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that Lord Shiva is his devotee.
And that is why Prabhupada put it in the 10th, 10 offenses, right, against the holy name. He has put it in the 9th, I think 8th or 9th place about Vishnu and Brahma. Purposefully.
Thank you. I think we will end here because it is 9:06.